Please welcome to the stage His Excellency Hassan Al-Thawadi, Secretary General at Supreme Committee for Delivery and Legacy for the State of Qatar, for a conversation with Bloomberg's Simone Foxman.
Hassan, thanks for joining us. It's lovely to see you, to talk to you again. Feels like every time we talk, we're just a little bit closer to the World Cup. And so it's interesting to see how much has been done in that time. So for those of you who don't know from the long title, Hassan is the World Cup guy, essentially.
One of the guys, yes, but it seems like I'm the spearheaded one.
Well, so here's the question that I've been asked a bunch of times by folks over the past couple of days who maybe this is their first time in Doha. They say the stadiums are built, the metro is operational, there's this regional air shuttle system plan that's going to go into effect, that's cool. The roads, meh. But also, what is not done? What's keeping you up at night? I don't know if it's the roads, so tell me what it is.
Well, to start off with, let me apologize first for my voice. As you can see, that keeps me up at night sometimes. What keeps me up at night? I mean, look, for the last 12 years, it's been different things, right? Starting out from a global pandemic to a lot of other things. But the fact is, as you said, we're more or less there in terms of infrastructure. Yes, the roads, if you look at the insides of of some of the streets, I think there's a bit of an upgrading system that's occurring that was always part of the plan. But the major infrastructure has already been completed. And I think we're now in operational phase. So in the operational phase, obviously, there's a lot of different elements. One of them, of course, is accommodation, ensuring that the itinerary relevant for the accommodation is in play ahead of time, and trying to manage as much as possible or avoid price gouging. I mean, obviously, market forces always mean that as long as there's a lot of demand, prices skyrocket, and we've seen it in many previous tournaments. We're trying to create an environment where the business community benefits, but at the same time, it is affordable and accessible for the fans as well. So to try to create that environment, that balance, sometimes is tricky.
Yeah, let's talk about that, because I want to ask you about accommodation.
Go ahead.
I was on the website last night. I was looking at kind of all the alternatives out there. There are some very, very pricey ones, over $1,000, multiple $1,000s a night. Then there are some that are kind of out in the middle of nowhere. I think there is a concern from fans who are looking to come here that their accommodation is either going to be extremely expensive, or there's not going to even be enough for them. Are you seeing an impact on demand and purchasing tickets from some of these concerns that fans are having?
What do you mean by that?
Are you seeing them, sign up for tickets, not go and pay for tickets because they're concerned they can't find a hotel room or it's too expensive?
Not at all. I mean, in terms of demand, to start off with, I think it's record-breaking demand. I think the last phase we had about 27 million requests for about 2 million tickets available. I think about 1.2 million tickets have already been purchased.
Okay.
So people are actually buying and people are excited to come. There's no doubts about that. In terms of availability, we've tried to ensure that we provide different offerings on different categories. So from the affordable, which ranges about from $80 to $100 a night, all the way to, as you said, a bit more of the pricier ones, whether we're looking in terms of 5-star hotels, or even some of the luxury offerings in terms of cruise ships. So we're trying to create a wide range that caters for everybody. Of course, again, more and more hotels are coming into the pipeline, and this takes time, of course, for fans to get more accommodated with the platform, because our offering is slightly unique as well. What we try to do is, to a certain extent, not within what's available in the country, but what's available on the platform, centralize a bit of what's available on the market. And again, that was at an attempt of not regulating prices, but managing prices in there. And again, because as we've always said, we've always committed to this being an accessible, affordable tournament.
Yeah.
And so it's as I said, I mean, that there's, I won't say it's a challenge, but it's definitely something that we're working on very hard to ensure that this is an environment for everybody from every walk of life to be able to come and enjoy it.
I mentioned the regional shuttle system earlier, and the idea is essentially that someone could fly in from Dubai, Muscat, Kuwait City, various cities in Saudi Arabia, and then come for the day and then leave. How much are you actually encouraging this to happen?
If you go back to 2009, 2010, we've always said one thing. This is an Arab, Middle Eastern tournament held in Qatar. So for us, we've always encouraged the fact that for a lot of these fans, this would be their first opportunity to ever come to the Middle East and the Arab world. So for them to be able to travel, visit different parts of the country, different parts of the region, experience Arabic hospitality, experience our culture, experience our sense of humor, our welcoming nature, it's as much for the region as it is for Qatar. So there's no doubts, of course, people will be here to follow the tournaments, but whenever they get the chance as well to visit the region, it only serves to help us in our vision, which we always said. It is an Arab tournament, first and foremost.
Even if it bites at revenue a little bit.
I think, if you see over the last, decades, we've always looked at the bigger picture. In the end, I think, or at least I think the way we see it, prosperity is through a unified, or let's say a complementary market, plain and simple. That's the way I see it, at least. And we've always seen that this thing will only complement each other. Whatever benefits, for example, people staying, for example, in Saudi experiencing that will only come and benefit us as well down the road, in the long term. So absolutely.
I want to shift gears a little bit. Human rights is something that's been in focus. I know you get questions a lot about this. I was speaking to a colleague of yours earlier today, and I asked him, is there fatigue, a sense of fatigue generally, that there has been all this uproar about human rights? And that fatigue, I wonder, could that be damaging to the need to push further? Because you've always said, no one's perfect. We see more yet to do. So what do you think? How do you overcome?
Well, let me ask you this question first. What do you mean by fatigue? Fatigue from what?
Fatigue from hearing about criticisms, fatigue from being in the press, on the front pages of the UK papers, perhaps.
No, I think the fatigue is not from that. The fatigue is from the fact that I think of misrepresenting facts, or not accurately addressing what is on the ground, or in some places, just plain and simple misstated facts. That is where the fatigue comes from. The fatigue in terms of progressing on human rights, never. I think our commitment towards progress on this is unwavering. It's been there for the last 10, 12 years. Just if you allow me to finish, we've made a lot of progress on this area. I think the progress for the people on the ground, the experts on the ground, has been recognized. Today we are a benchmark in the region when it comes to, for example, dismantling of the kafala system, implementing minimum wage, a non-discriminatory minimum wage system. Within the Supreme Committee today, I'm very proud to say one of our projects, or one of our initiatives, is reimbursement of recruitment fees, where businesses within the community have voluntarily come onto this or joined this scheme and made a commitment of about $28 million, of which $22 million have already been repaid to workers on this recruitment fees. Now, if you compare it globally, I think Apple, since 2008, has been able to achieve about $32 million. Now, these are achievements that are on the ground. I think, and it's continuing. Again, we've always said, this is not a spotlight initiative. This is not an initiative where the spotlight is on us, and once it goes, we're going to revert back. This is something that we're committed to. We've been committed to before, and we're going to continue doing this. As I said, the fatigue comes from, unfortunately, misrepresenting facts, and that is, I think, where sometimes you might find frustration. But on the topic itself, never.
Well, there has been some pushback in the business community. I live here, and certainly not every business owner is happy to see legislation that allows people to change jobs freely. But changing jobs freely is a key not only to having a free labor market, but also to being a good employer.
But I think the nature of change, you'll always have people that will resist change. And again, I keep saying this, how many books, and I'm talking probably to the business community to address this, in your MBAs and whatnot, how many books have you looked at which talks about organizational change and how you need to create organizational change and how you need to overcome resistance within organizations when you come to restructuring? And if we address this, if you talk about organizations of 1,500 people, 2,000 people, then when you implement legislation that has social impact, that has economic impact, it has legislative impact, there is no doubt that you will find people that will resist the change. But
Right.
The fact is, the government has been unwavering in implementing it. We, I think, need to address and find more innovative ways of getting the business people and the business community on board. But if you allow me to again use the example of the $28 million commitment from the business community, this is not something that we imposed on the business community. This is not something that we twisted their arms to do. This is something that they willingly came on and agreed to join. This $28 million comes from the business community to reimburse recruitment fees for workers, which has shifted the burden of proof, which previously happens, I think, in most other nations, from worker to the business community and to the business owners. If that showcases anything, it's that if you create the right environment people are willing and more committed towards moving forward and doing the right thing.
Yes or no, would it be helpful if the multinational brands who own food chains, hotel chains, if they turn up the screws on some local business owners as well to make sure that they're keeping up with the international policy?
Just so we're clear, the assumption then means that it's not the big brands that are not committed. I mean, I think we've seen a lot of reports where big brands themselves find ways of or loopholes throughout their business practices. And again, this is not just in Qatar.
No,
We've
not
seen these reports internationally. And I think this is where I think it's very, very important to focus on. The country, since before the World Cup, has been committed on labor reforms. Since the World Cup acted as a vehicle and as an accelerator, not only on labor reforms, but on a lot of different other issues, infrastructure projects and so on. But labor reforms is where legacy is already being delivered before the tournament. It is something that we've stepped up to. We've engaged with our critics. Today, some of our most ardent critics are our most ardent supporters, and that needs to be recognized. And I think there's merit in recognizing, but more importantly, again, if you look at the ILO, if you look at ITUC, if you look at the trade unions, they all recognize the work that has been done.
Some other human fan experience-y stuff that I know is challenging, rainbow flags. Okay, they have to be in the stadium. FIFA has said yes, they must be in the stadium. But we heard some from a security official here saying, people who carry rainbow flags could be attacked, therefore we're going to take them away. Are they going to be allowed in the street? And are you going to allow protests generally? Yes or no on that, I think.
Protests?
Yeah.
Protests for what? I mean, I think, this is a tournament for celebration. This is a football tournament.
Yeah, but people always find stuff to protest about, and I think there are a couple issues here, too.
I think you're looking for somebody to protest. Is that No, look, I think, again, from day one, we've always said football has a very, very, very powerful ability to bring people together. You see it in many different tournaments. We've experienced it in 2010 in South Africa. The Rainbow Nation getting together. Everybody from the African nation supporting Ghana when it got to the semifinals, the quarterfinals. And the reality is, this tournament, the first World Cup in the Arab world, the first World Cup in the Middle East, it offers us a very unique opportunity for people from different walks of life to be able to come, engage in our common passion, which is football. Celebrate it. Fair enough, it might be celebrating different teams, but if you've ever been to a World Cup, it's always a celebratory event. It's always a festive event. And in there, and getting to know on a human-to-human level, on a person-to-person level, you get to know that, yes, we do come from different walks of life. People have different ways of life, different values, different starting points of values. But it means that we can still be able to celebrate our common humanity and our passion for the game.
So if one fan wants to go out and their way of life is going out with a sign on the street and just standing there, and is that okay?
Every visitor that again, it's simple. What we say is everybody's welcome. But in appreciating where you're coming from, for us, we have a very rich culture. We ask for people to respect our culture, and I don't think it's much to ask for that. It's as simple as that. You can come, enjoy football, get to know who we are, get to know us on a deeper level, get to know us on go out, celebrate the games, celebrate what's happening on the pitch. And through that, I think there'll be an exchange of cultures, an exchange of backgrounds, and understanding different opinions and different ways of life, and appreciating that, yes, we do have different ways of life, and that is a reality. And it's not something that's unique to Qatar. It's something that's shared with many different people from different parts of the region as well.
One thing that you think has changed.
Oh, thank you. I did not expect that, but thank you very much.
Lastly, and we're running out of time, I just want to know the top thing that you think has changed about Qatar since 2010 when you won the bid.
You think, keeping in mind the events that we've had to go through since 2010, I don't think the World Cup is the only one that's implemented the change. But I think, look, the one thing I will say is this, the last 10 years have been a testimonial and a bright spotlight that kind of showcased our resourcefulness, our resilience, our adherence to our values, and our commitment to progress. And I think more importantly as well, our commitment and recognition of our role to be played in the global community. We recognize that we are part of the global community. We recognize that we have responsibilities towards the global community, but more importantly, I think also rights towards ourselves as well. And I think what the World Cup has been able to showcase is, we've been part of the social discussion and discourse over the last 10 years. What I hope is, by November, people will be able to come, not only experience Qatari hospitality, not only experience Qatari culture, but the Arab world. And what I hope is by the end of it, when people leave, they'll be able to really appreciate and, hopefully bonds be created, stronger bond be created on a human-to-human level, right? I'm not talking, fan-to-fan level.
Right.
I'm not talking about ideologies. I'm not talking about speeches. I'm not talking about big newspaper headlines. I'm talking about the person in Norway being able to pick up the phone and call somebody here to wish them a happy Eid, or somebody in Egypt being able to pick up the phone and call somebody else and wish them Merry Christmas. These bonds that hopefully last and we're able to build upon for the future.
Inclusivity to a degree. Thank you, Hassan. I
Thank you.
appreciate always getting your update.
Thank you.
5 months. 5 months.
Thank you very much. Thank you.